what's up? I'm Star. I just want to share with you guys a little bit about my past, just to enlighten people and so people know that you can't just trust anybody. So, I smoked weed from the time I was 12 until I was 16. I only started smoking weed because my older brother used to put it in my cigarettes. And after that, I kind of figured if I'm going to smoke it anyways, I might as well smoke it on purpose. I always had bad experiences with weed, though. I would black out, try to kill myself, and just do stupid shit. Which, if you knew me, you'd understand. I'm one of those people. But it went downhill when I turned 16, and I smoked weed that one of my close friends gave me, and I later found out that it was laced with PCP. And after that happened, I quit smoking because I had such a bad reaction. I started shaking. I was freaking out. 3 of my friends had to help me get out of school and keep me safe and make sure I didn't do anything. So I was fine with the smell of weed, being near weed when people were smoking, being near people after they smoked, up until I was 18. The moment I hit 18 years old, if I smelt weed on somebody, I started having flashbacks of the weed I got with the PCP in it. And it was completely horrifying. There's a bat out here. Sorry, I don't like bats. I have a major fear of them. I shouldn't be outside. So, smelling it would bring back the feeling of being under the PCP. And at first, it was just when I smelt weed this happened. I was still able to work. I just kind of needed to smoke a cigarette, take a breather after the smell left where I was. I went to a 3-day rock concert in Ohio called Rock on the Range. And people were smoking weed all around me. And even with that, I was still fine. I would get up, go smoke my cigarette, go back a little while later when the smell was gone and the people were done smoking. And I lasted the 3 days like that. And then the place where I live, somebody brought weed into the house. They weren't smoking it in the house. They had it in a container, but the glass container thing was broken. And the whole house ended up smelling like weed, which then caused me to go into a severe panic. Because even if the weed isn't being burnt, I still have the same effect with the smell. Basically, I know it's not logic, and I know it's not logical at all, and it can't happen, but if I smell weed, I feel like I'm high. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I get the same vision I had when I was high. My mouth gets all dry. I hear crickets. I start freaking out. And it's a very unpleasant feeling for me. And I was not diagnosed for years. I went many years without being diagnosed for it. But it wasn't bad until the person brought weed into the house. And after that, it got to the point where I was in a panic 24/7. And if I wasn't in a panic, I was preparing to be in one. I got very angry, and I would snap on everybody because my fuse was just so short, and like it was a coping mechanism for me to just snap on somebody because my insides were crawling and I had no control over how I felt. I finally got put on meds for it. I was put on Prozac, I'm on Prozac now. I was put on Lexapro first. I was good on the 10s, and after about 3 months, 10 milligrams made me very violent. Every time my girlfriend opened her mouth, I wanted to, bash her head in. I never did it, because I'm not a violent person, but the violent thoughts were enough to make me tell my doctor, look, I'm having very violent thoughts. her suggestion was, we'll up your dosage. So I was like, whatever, we'll do that. We'll see how it works. So she ups my dosage to 20 milligrams. And I wrote suicide notes for everybody. I wrote one long note for everyone, and then I wrote separate notes for my mom and all of her kids. And I was ready to do it. I had no doubts I needed to die. So, with that being said, one of my friends actually stopped me from doing it. She made sure that she kept her eyes on me and I didn't sneak off. So, with that being said, ta-da, I'm still here. I told my doctor, these are getting me suicidal. I shouldn't be taking these either. So she was like, okay, we'll move you back down to the 10s. And 2 months into taking the 10 milligrams, I stopped taking them altogether. It was December 13th, 2 years ago. I only remember the date because my mom was diagnosed with acute leukemia that day. And I wanted to drink so much that I would forget who I was. Everybody was against me doing it, but that's my mother. I don't cope well with my mom not doing good. So I stopped my pills. I detoxed off of them. That was hell. I didn't drink, unfortunately. I stopped taking my thyroid medication, which I have an underactive thyroid, which is why I'm heavyset. Basically, my brain doesn't make the chemicals and stuff. I don't know. My doctor tried to explain it to me, but I didn't really understand. So I stopped taking all my meds. And then from there, I got worse again. And it just got really dark in this. Hold up. Okay, so it cut off, but basically the panic got so much worse. And it's because I was on meds and then I stopped taking meds. So my body was used to the meds fighting off all the chemical imbalancement, basically. Because they believe that's what causes my situation, which I don't think that's what it is. Granted, I know I have a chemical imbalance because I do have depression. I've been diagnosed with it. The meds do stop the anxiety attacks and the panic and the PTSD episodes, so it's definitely a plus, but they don't fast-actingly stop them. I was on the Prozac, and then I got switched off of it because my insurance stopped covering it. I was terrified I was going to detox off the Prozac, and my primary care sent in a prescription for Paxil, and 2 days on the Paxil, I went into the worst panic attack I've ever had. I thought if I went to sleep, I was gonna die. Needless to say, I had to go to the emergency room. They did a bunch of scans on me. They ended up giving me a Klonopin and a prescription for 10 more Klonopins. And it took me 20 days to use the 10 of them because I didn't use it unless I was in a panic for a long time and I couldn't get myself out of it, basically. If I was freaking out and I was able to pull myself back, I wouldn't take it. And I gave myself hours to pull myself back from the panic. So, because I didn't want to resort to taking pills. Because a pill isn't going to really help solve the problem. It fixes it for the moment. And with that, I got those, and then when I was done with them, I again had a really bad panic. So I go back to the hospital, and they're like, well, we gave you Klonopin last time, so we're not going to give you that again. We're going to give you something else. It's called Vistarol. It's basically like Benadryl, but it helps with anxiety. And I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. It's definitely whatever. I took it. It worked for a while. But it didn't work good enough. I started drinking every day. because Klonopin and stuff like that is just dehydrated alcohol. So I figured if I just drank, it would have the same effect and I wouldn't panic. And it worked up until I drank 3/4 of a pint of whiskey in a night. I thought I was going to die if I fell asleep. I eventually calmed down and went to sleep. But I stopped drinking after that, and I've only had a few shots since, and that was last year. But it escalates. And when I go into a panic, the pills that they give me, they don't really work. I'll take one. If that one doesn't work in an hour and a half, I take a second one, and I'm not allowed to take more than 2 in 4 hours. And they don't work, and they just cause headaches for me. But they still want to keep giving me them, and I try telling everybody that prescribes them they don't work. And they're like, oh, well, they'll work eventually. Like, they don't work for me. Everybody has different reactions to stuff like that, though. I switched off the Paxil, and I got put on Zoloft. And the Zoloft I also did bad on. I went into panic attacks a few times on that. The worst form of panic is when you panic about what pills you're taking. Like I said, the root of my issue was weed. So when they give me pills, I'm like, what's in this? How do I know there's no weed in this? I research everything before I use it. Before I consume anything, I research. Because I don't want to accidentally get that shit in my system. Not only because the way I react to it, but I also get drug tested regularly. Which I understand, because they do have me on medications and stuff. I should be getting drug tested regularly. I don't know why they're testing me to see if I'm smoking weed, figuring I don't do that. So that's a little confusing to me. So the Zoloft didn't work, and I got put back on my Prozac, which the Prozac works good. I have such a good reaction to the Prozac. Basically, for the most part, I'm very calm. I didn't take it today because I forgot. But I'm normally very good with taking it, and it doesn't cause too many issues with me. It doesn't put me into a panic. It doesn't increase panic. It doesn't induce panic. So it definitely is a lot better. And I'm doing good on it. I'm trying to get switched off the hydroxyzine, though, the Vistarol, because that stuff just does not work. But I know a lot of people will post stuff about how they have panics, and when they have a panic attack, they do certain things that help them, and I've watched all these videos, I've tried all these different things, and just, it doesn't work on me. It'll work 3 times, 4 times maybe, and then it'll stop working for me. And it's fucking hard. And a lot of people can't understand what I go through with this. Because you think weed, you think it's all natural, it helps with panic, it helps with this, it helps with that. But my brain associates it with PCP, hence the PTSD form. So, I currently am not working. I do want to find a job. Right now, I just like paint and stuff like that. I mean, I could technically sell this stuff, but I'm all like, oh, I like doing it, so I haven't really charged anyone because it's fun to do. So, and idle hands are the devil's playthings. I do try to make light of, my situation and my anxiety. I live in a house where most of the people smoke, so I'm not, sorry, my eye is itchy. I'm not always around it, but I am sometimes. Sometimes they'll come in and they'll smell like it, and I'll be like, look, spray. My girlfriend smokes, but not when I'm in the state of New York. She'll smoke when I go home to visit my family and shit like that. But just, I got weed laced with PCP from a friend, and you guys never know what's in what you're smoking. You never know who put what in it. You don't know where your friends get it from, who they get it from. Weed travels a long way before it reaches you. So just be very careful about what you get and who you get it from, and just be super cautious, because a lot of people don't care. They'll put stuff in it just so you get addicted to something worse. So you keep coming back to them for more because their weed is a different high, and they never tell you. So, I mean, you don't want to experience that. And granted, I look at what happened to me as a blessing, because if anything, I would have gone down the road of doing worse if I had a different reaction. I could be dead today. So I'm grateful that my body reacted the way it did to it, because I quit and I was able to get my life together and stop doing that. And just, I drink, but for the most part, like, I don't put anything like that in my body. I smoke and drink, that's it. So, yeah, and caffeinated drinks. But just, like I said, be super careful about who you get shit from, and just always be safe. It's not worth it, and my panic gets so bad to the point where I feel like just dying would be better. I'd rather be dead than panic. And a lot of people don't like that, but it's to the point where I'm like, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this pain, this suffering, this hurt, this feeling of why is this happening to me. Like, it's painful. And I'm gonna stop this video because I'm trying to not force myself into an anxiety attack. So thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys are safe, careful. Whatever you do, make sure you know everything about what you're doing. Stay safe, please. Bye.